If you're getting no responses even though you personalize your emails, you're not alone. The data shows that the average cold email reply rate in sales is criminally low at 5.1%. So if it feels like researching information about prospects and writing personalized emails is a total waste of time, that's because in many cases it is. However, there's a better way, one that is not only significantly faster, but also leads to booking more meetings. Working for companies like Salesforce, I booked meetings with my ideal clients via cold outreach consistently without having to do general and efficient personalization. In the next 10 minutes, I'll show you why nobody cares about the personalization in your emails and give you the 2 strategies that consistently worked for me so you can book more meetings with the next cold email that you send. The first thing that we have to understand is that nobody cares about your general personalization. Keyword here, general. You see, 5 years ago, let's say 5 years ago, it was very powerful to personalized emails because nobody was doing them. In those times, most people just sent general emails. Maybe the best personalization they did was include the person's name and their company. But other than that, there was not a lot of personalization. So in those times, for you to spend extra time personalizing your emails was very valuable and it stood out in the market. But one thing we have to understand, and this is going to be a common theme in today's episode, right, is that when most people SIG, we have to sag. So when everybody starts doing the same thing, in this case, personalization, we have to stand out from what everybody else is doing in order for us to stand out in people's inbox. Why? Because, this game is a game of attention, right? And if you can't stand out, then you can't grab the attention from the prospects that you're trying to reach. So if you're doing what everybody else is doing, you simply won't get attention because you simply won't stand out. So that is point number 1. What worked before will not work now. So we need to grow. We need to adapt. We need a different approach. As you know, AI is changing everything and cold outreach is not an exception to that rule. But more on that later. Another option is just to have an option so strong, an offer so strong that people would be crazy not to take it. They'd be absolutely crazy not to take a meeting with you if you have a value proposition that directly solves their biggest problem. For example, here at Salesman.com, we help your sales team find and close more deals within the next 30 days or your money back, and I'll pay you an extra $1,000 back if you're not satisfied with how we were able to help you. That's a strong value proposition that few people can turn down, and you need to be able to create the same. Now, I know that's difficult because many of you are working for, a specific company, and maybe you can't change the product, or maybe you can't change your offer, but you can definitely change your value proposition and use your skills, your sales skills, your influence skills to make it sound really irresistible. That's up to you. You can't change your product and your company, but you may be able to change your message. The one thing you can't do is stay the same. We need a different approach, which leads us to our next point, which is you simply have to evolve. AI accelerated what was already changing naturally. So it's something you need to adapt to as soon as possible. Like I covered before, you can't expect to do the same old tactics and expect different new results. If you're not getting the results you want now with sales and you continue to do what you're doing now, then you're going to stay in the same place. You need to evolve, right? I'm going to rewrite evolve here in order to get new results. Hopefully positive results, right? If you follow the things that we're going over today, but you have to evolve. If you stay the same, things won't be good. So let's cover the 2 methods of actually doing effective personalization. The first strategy we need to take is high quality, low volume. And this is going to work for you if your sales cycle is focused more on few deals that have a high value versus a lot of deals that bring in a low value. So just as an example, many of our students at Salesman.com that specifically sell to Fortune 500 companies, and they don't need to have a bunch of deals, they just need to have a few deals a year in order to hit their quota. They use this approach very successfully, right? This is more of the sniper approach, right? So the strategy here is to really hyper personalize your outreach by hand and do your research very deeply. You almost have to become a Sherlock Holmes, a detective. You have to know who you're reaching out to specifically within that company. You need to do really deep research into their company so you understand the logistics and the overall arching goal of that company. Then you have to understand the specific decision makers that are the highest, that have the highest probability of actually taking a meeting with you and actually working with you. Then you have to understand very deeply something we talk about all the time, their pains and problems, right? Because this helps us, well, in itself, we don't even have to create it. It already brings urgency. And this prompts people to take a meeting with us, which is the entire point of cold outreach, okay? Is simply to book a meeting. This strategy takes a lot of time and a lot of efforts into a dense concentration of people. You're not trying to reach out to everybody, to every company. You're not trying to spam the TAM. You know who you're reaching out to, you know why, and you know how your offer or value proposition can absolutely transform their pain and problems into actually benefits that they're looking to integrate into their company. This takes a lot of research and writing every email by hand, taking your time and really focus on quality versus quantity. And some of our students that are using this strategy, they might write maybe 3 to 5 emails a day, but they're hyper concentrated, hyper value packed emails sent to a very specific, very small group of people. And if this is the type of sale that you're doing, this strategy could work great for you. The next one is AI quality and high volume. This is where we use AI, like I explained earlier, to help us do the personalization for us, which is instead of 10 out of 10, like these emails right here, or maybe 9 out of 10, maybe the personalization is going to be done maybe 7 or maybe 6 out of 10, right? But because we're selling to a wider market, maybe your type of sale is not you're closing these massive contracts. Instead, you're closing smaller contracts, so you need more of them throughout the year. Versus this one, you only need maybe 3-4 contracts for the whole year, and you're good to go. If you're doing a more complex or a sale that is of a bigger contract value, in this case, is almost the opposite. So we want to use the opposite strategy. Instead of focusing on the few, we want to focus on the many, and we want to be able to personalize at scale using artificial intelligence. Here in the Salesman.com team, we've worked with over 2,000 sellers. And me personally, working with many of these sellers one-on-one and in our group coaching calls, one thing that is inevitable to see with the trend and notice is that most people that come in, or just most people that are in sales in general, are having a tough time. And the harsh truth is that you might want to admit it or not, but in many cases, you're probably having a tough time in sales, because the reality is that sales is not easy. And there's nothing wrong with having a tough time at something or being not so good at something, as long as you realize it and you're willing to take the proper steps to transform that weakness into a strength. But all of that to say that most people out there are not doing a good job. Most people suck at personalization. So the bar is set very, very low, which is good news for you if you're watching this video. That means that the bar for personalization is so low that using generative AI, we can both outperform our competitors and do it at a massive scale. Using tools like Clay.com, we can import a list of 10,000 prospects, asking Clayagent, the research agent, via a prompt to simply visit their website, look for the prospect name, and tell me something interesting about how they conduct business. Look for bio pages or team pages to find this information. Your response should be 1 sentence long and conversational in tone. It should start with something like, "Hey, I was on your website and I noticed X." This prompt won't give you 10,000 accurate responses, but it might give you 5,000 to 7,000 responses in minutes. You win by firing that email out at such scale that you hit the right people at the right time, even if your message is only 7 out of 10. So by executing this strategy, we could get to this 7 out of 10 number using AI quality, but we're doing it at a high volume, and the two mixed together, right at this point in time, will book meetings. And this is one of the fundamental strategies which we are implementing here at Salesman.com with our email outbound strategy. And guess what? It is booking meetings. It's doing exactly this thing right here, which is what you want. So if you try the things that we've talked about today, that should definitely help you book more meetings while personalizing your emails correctly, using the myriad of strategies we cover here today. And if you want to continue to learn how to make selling simple, why not click on the video on the screen right now?